changed one birthday plan for my son and it shattered our bond.
How dare you change the birthday plans?
I, 47 male, have a son, 14 male, from a previous marriage to my late wife. She passed 2 years ago, and for my son, the wound is still very fresh. My son and her were very close, as they look exactly alike and had a lot of the same interest in reading, history, and art. By the way, this comes from Creepy Werewolf 4914, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. I'm Sophia.
I'm Carly.
And we're here to give good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We only know what we'd do. So let us know what you would do in the comments. Their favorite place in the world is the British Museum in London. Their passion project has been redrawing pieces from the museum for the last 2 years before. For the last 4 years, for my wife's birthday in June and my son's birthday in December, we go to England for a week so they can spend time in the museum. However, since she passed away, my son and I have continued going for his birthday. The problem is with my new wife, 39 female. She's only been with us on this annual trip once last year, and she complained the whole time. Now, however, we recently found out we are expecting a child together in May. He raised it to my attention that the money I've used for the trip could be better used to be saved for the baby.
Don't you freaking dare.
We could instead do something else for my son's birthday. I thought about it and I agreed. I was worried how he'd take it, as this is the only thing he wants for his birthday. He didn't ask for gifts or cake or a party. All he cares about is this goddamn museum. We broke the news to my son yesterday and he flipped out. He was so upset, and when my wife tried to tell him why we were saving the money and where the money was going to, he said he didn't give a damn, and we got into an argument about it. He said he was upset because if he didn't go this year, he'd miss the new exhibit he'd been wanting to see, and he accused my wife of doing this on purpose because she already doesn't like me, he said. I admit I yelled at him and he started crying, and for the last 24 hours, he hasn't spoken to me. Am I the a-hole? Yes. Yep. Just so easy.
Yeah.
Yep.
So much so, if these comments don't
Yeah.
absolutely wake you up and take this kid to the museum, then I don't even know.
Take this freaking kid to the museum.
What 14-year-old boy wants to go to a museum for his birthday?
Yeah,
take
you have a
this boy.
special boy.
Take the boy.
Like, I don't know where you guys live, but yeah, okay, London trip, expensive maybe, but British Museum, free. OP clarifies on the timeline when his late wife passed and the trips the family took together. OP says, no, I'm sorry if I worded that confusingly. What I intended to say is that we took this trip twice a year when my wife was alive. So 4 years ago, we started taking these trips. 2 years ago, my wife passed away, and we took the trip once a year since. Since my wife passed away, we took the trip once a year. Commenter 2 says, what museum are you talking about? There are hundreds of, maybe even thousands of museums and art galleries in England. Oh, and you're the a-hole. Seriously, what the heck is wrong with you and your witch of a new wife? OP says, the British Museum in London. www.britishmuseum.org. Commenter 3 says, you're the a-hole and so is your new wife. In fact, she's downright selfish. All she cares about is the baby that's coming. Neither she nor you are considering the child that is already here. One that is hurting deeply, first from the loss of his mother, and now from his father's stupidity. And yes, OP, you are beyond stupid. You are blind to the fact that your new wife is already putting your unborn child before your son, who you have an obligation towards right here and now, as he is your firstborn and shouldn't be shoved to the side for a baby that's not even born yet. So get your head out of your butt. Tell your wife that she needs to shut up and do what's right by your son. Because I can promise you that if you forego this trip and ignore what's important to that poor child, the damage will be done. He will drop your sorry hide like a bad habit the moment he turns legal, and he'll never look back. Then you can spend the rest of your life whining about how he never wants anything to do with you. Comment 4 says, your shiny new wife chose to act worse than a whiny toddler and ruined a trip that was meant for a child on their birthday as a memory for his mother. You allowed this woman to make your son feel terrible in his favorite place in the world on his birthday. You allowed this woman to take the one thing your child has ever wanted, to shift it over to something that has nothing to do with your son for his birthday. You yelled at your son for reacting badly to being shoved aside for your new family. You allow your new wife to mistreat your son, not even bothering to raise any questions at she hates me at all. Of course you're the a-hole. Update, November 26th, 2025, 1 year later.
Oh!
Are we at the museum again?
We better be at the museum for the second time. This better be his next birthday. We went last year, we're going this year.
Yeah. So a year ago, I, 48 male, made a post online about the issues I was having with my son, 15 male, and my new wife, 40 female. I've gotten many messages and comments asking what happened, so I decided to make an update. So the big thing first, did I take my son on his birthday trip? No. But let me explain. So after my son and I got into a fight, he went and complained to his uncle, my late wife's older brother, 47 male, and his husband, 47 male. I'll go ahead and say that since my late wife got sick, and even after she passed away, her brother and I never got along.
I wonder why.
I wonder why.
I wonder
because
why.
he thought you moved on really quick.
Is it because you pulled another woman out of thin air and had a baby with her?
He, his husband, and most of her family like to judge me for how quickly I remarried. I'm judging you too.
I'm judging you.
I am judging you too.
They better have taken this kid then. Maybe he can go live with them.
If you had just said, it's been 2 years or a year and a half and I've started to date again, I'd be like, yeah, you know what? They shouldn't be mad about that.
I even would have judged you less for it had you stood up for your son at all still.
You found a girl within the year, got remarried. I'm just assuming that you at least took a year, but presumably you found this girl within the year and then married her within the next year.
Judge your son for not being over it yet.
Yeah. However, my son has kept a good relationship with them. And once he told them about what happened, they called and offered to take him themselves. I was all for it, but my wife was not.
Oh my God.
She thought if we let my son go with them, they'd fill his head with lies about her and only deepen the rift between us. Since the situation was causing her so much stress and she was pregnant at the time, I decided to decline their offer, which only made things worse. Eventually, after about 3 days, we finally sat down and talked. He said he was unhappy with the way she was treating him and often felt like she was trying to erase his mom's touch from the house. He felt like she was constantly criticizing him and didn't want him around. When I confronted my wife about this, she was offended. She said she wasn't trying to erase his mother, but simply add her own touch to the space. She wasn't criticizing him, simply parenting. Eventually, my son accepted that he wouldn't be able to go on his trip and was noticeably bummed out about it. So his boyfriend and his friends spent his birthday at our house trying to cheer him up. A sweet gesture, but I don't think it worked. Over the last year, my wife had our baby, and now that my son's birthday is approaching, he's become bitter and resentful over what happened last year. He spends more time away from home. He's been rude and disrespectful to his stepmother and been seeing his therapist more frequently. By the way, you can see us more frequently if you listen to full episodes of stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search up OK Storytime. It doesn't feel like OP learned anything.
I don't think OP learned a dang thing.
He was like, just like, hear me out, and then proceeds to say the most stupid thing.
And then immediately just go to your wife and believe your wife.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You listened to your wife when she said, well, your son can't go on the trip with his family because they're going to spread lies about me. Does that mean that he can't go spend time with them at all? Unsupervised?
I'm assuming he probably hasn't seen his uncles in forever because of the whole rift with the new stepmother.
Which is ridiculous.
You are tearing your entire family apart, OP. You suck.
Now that we've all adjusted to having a new baby and my son's birthday is approaching again, I'm thinking if I should resume the tradition of taking my son back to the museum. I think it would be a good idea to hopefully do some family bonding. And honestly, I'm feeling really guilty about what happened last year.
No, OP, you leave your wife and the baby at home. I don't even care about her. She can be with the baby. And you guys go to the museum. Just you two.
My wife has her reservations for saying it would only reward his bad behavior. He didn't have any bad behavior.
He didn't do anything wrong.
He asked for one thing for his birthday.
All he wanted was the museum.
And you refused even when you didn't even have to pay for it.
And
that's the thing.
The exhibit that he wanted is gone already.
It's gone. You didn't even have to pay for it. There is no excuse.
You didn't even have to go. You had 2 people willing to take him. And from the sounds of it, they live pretty dang close.
I guess I'm making this update to not only inform the people of Reddit, but also ask for a little advice. What should I do? I only want to be a better dad. Comment 1 says, update 3 years from now. Why doesn't my son talk to me anymore? Reply, I'm going to ask Reddit strangers for advice, not listen to any of it, and then ask for more when not following the original advice that made my situation worse. Where did I go wrong? Comment 2, this dumb guy. I hope he enjoys the next 3 years because once that kid is 18, he's going no contact. My God, I'm so upset that this idiot doesn't see how wrong it is to express, we're not going on the trip. And aren't you excited that it's to spend that money on my new child? Yeah, like your birthday money is going to the new kid.
The kid that wasn't even born at the time yet.
His wife is trash too. She didn't want him to go with his uncles because she's a controlling piece of crap. Fly says 2 years max. Son will be 16 this December. I hope his gunkles are there for him after he goes no contact with this irresponsible man. Reply, guarantee they're already planning on how to get him into college without OP's support. Yeah. Oh, I'm sure if he gets into a good college or something, he seems smart.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure wife will be like, oh, well,
we
that money's for the baby.
Yeah. You can go to you can go to a community college.
The newborn, we actually need to start his college fund from your college fund.
Sorry.
My father offered me his business, but with one crazy condition.
How crazy is it?
I have always been the scapegoat of my family, while my brother has always been the golden child. Long story short, he could never do any wrong and learned my parents' manipulative, self-absorbed behavior and grew up to be like them, but with one exception, he is incredibly lazy. By the way, this comes from user WritersBlock2. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. I'm Dakota.
I'm Keon.
And we're here. Give good advice goofily, because we don't know all the answers. We only know some things, right? So let us know the things that you know. He lives with our parents, doesn't pay any bills, and has only ever had one job, which was given to him by our dad. My dad pays him to do work that he has openly admitted is very lackluster. My brother barely got his GED after dropping out of high school, and he recently got another part-time job through my dad that he is also doing poorly at. After college, I moved away to another state. I worked as a teacher for a few years, had kids, and eventually decided it would be best for my family if we moved closer to home. We wanted to be near connections and support, and I also reached out to my dad to tell him I was interested in taking over the business if that was something he wanted. He told me that it was exactly what he wanted. Since then, I've been flying back and forth constantly to get licenses and learn the business so I could apprentice and eventually take over. The last time I flew out, it was to obtain a license that my dad had pushed my brother into getting. My brother failed that test 6 times before finally passing, and then refused to do any of the work that license required. I passed it on the first try. I later mentioned to my dad that I was unsure how my brother would react to me taking over the business. My dad's response was that he should ask my brother if he wants it first, and that maybe we could co-own it. I told my dad that I was extremely apprehensive about co-owning a business with someone who has zero work ethic. My dad insisted that quote-unquote survival mode would whip my brother into shape. First of all, being made the co-owner of a business is the opposite of survival mode. Survival mode is you are now unemployed and you have 2 weeks to find somewhere to live. That is survival mode.
Ooh, do we go through with this? If you were OP, do you is there going to be any budging on no, he's got to work for me? He's going to be lucky enough to be working here because he's negligent and doesn't do anything.
Well, OP sounds smart enough to probably have a very solid contract put into place. And honestly, it sounds like you could just convince the brother that he doesn't want to work there anyway, that he doesn't want to be a co-owner.
I can see the brother. No, I can see the brother totally be doing the totally different, opposite. Because the brothers aren't going to work there now. The brothers just be a peeve.
Well, no, that's the thing that's where the contract comes into play.
Oh, well, yeah.
You have all these stipulations where it's A, B, C, and D in the contract. And if you're not doing those, you can be released from your co-owner position at will.
I don't think daddy is going to approve this.
So I told him I didn't believe that for a second. What I see happening is me doing all the work and getting half the pay, while my brother coasts like he always has. My dad told me today that he spoke with my brother and that my brother was wishy-washy about it. He then said he would talk to him again to try to work something out. That is not what we agreed upon. It sounds much more like he's trying to convince my brother to accept co-ownership rather than seeing if he wants it outright, so my dad can absolve himself of guilt for passing it to me alone. Here's the part that's driving me insane. I knew this would happen. I told my wife that my dad would absolutely choose my brother, who has no children to support, over me. My wife believes my dad cares more about his legacy than I'm giving him credit for. She thinks I could lean into that and explain that the business will fail if my brother is involved. I've tried to explain to her as gently as possible that being the child of a self-absorbed person teaches you one thing very clearly: no amount of logic, reasoning, or trying to decipher their motivations actually changes anything. Scapegoats cannot just play the game. No matter what I say or do, my parents will always choose my brother over me, over logic, over their grandchildren, and even over their own legacy. They would rather sabotage everything than risk choosing me. They would accept less contact with my kids, destroy the business, or tarnish their own reputation if it meant not breaking their pattern. There is no hope of changing this dynamic. This is simply how it goes for scapegoats. So because my wife can't fully understand this reality, and honestly, I'm glad she doesn't, I thought I'd share it here. Maybe you can help me feel less insane. Maybe someone has lived this exact story and knows something I don't. And truly ask me anything. Thank you for reading. And we have an update from 16 days later.
I think we've said our piece. Like, if it's really not, if they're not budging and, you know, they're really going to just let your brother coast and be the golden child, if you don't think it's worth to put up with OP, and you know what, you can be sufficient and take care of yourself, and you don't want to deal with it, I think you know your option.
I finally spoke to my dad, and he gave me an answer. He said that my brother told him he was interested in the business, but that he didn't know how much that really meant. In other words, my brother is leading him on. My dad fully intends to leave the door open for my brother to assume 50% ownership of the business at any point, even if he never puts in any work. I told my dad that my brother is clearly leading him on and asked if he was willing to tell him the business would go to me if he continued doing that. My dad said he was not willing to do that. Instead, he suggested a trial run after which I could go start my own business if I didn't like working with my brother. So he suggested you can actually be his mentor and run his apprenticeship so that then he can
This
run
is
the business.
insane.
And then you can build another thing from the ground up for yourself.
That's insane.
Living near my parents is only financially viable if I have sole ownership of the business, and my dad knows this. I told him there is no trial run. Either I move closer and have full ownership, or we look elsewhere in the country. He seemed genuinely confused by this. I explained that I have to choose between teaching, which aligns perfectly with raising kids, and taking over a business I know nothing about in an expensive area with my brother who has already undercut me before. He asked me for an example of my brother undercutting me, which I gave. My dad suggested that maybe my brother has matured since then. Stop moving the goalposts, Dad.
That's it. It's the golden child. The self-absorbed parents, they're gonna keep moving the goalpost indefinitely. There's no stoppage to it. They're always gonna keep protecting the brother. OP knows this. OP just like, all right, if you're just not gonna, at this point, I think I can see where OP's coming from. There's no point for OP to keep continuing this. And you know what? That legacy is gonna be an embarrassment to them. That's not on OP. That's on the brother.
I think this is the moment that this is where you start strong arming. You go, this is what's happening, or it's not happening. And that's the end of the story. I told my dad he wasn't going to convince me that my brother had matured. I said that since he has decided to leave the door open for my brother, I'm leaning towards teaching elsewhere. That's when he started to sound scared and asked why I wouldn't just give it a chance. I told him I had already explained why. I also told him that if he ends up selling the business, he should still be proud that it served its purpose by providing for his family. And I meant that sincerely, with no spite or passive aggression. That sincerity seemed to scare him more than anything, because it showed him he no longer had leverage over me. We ended the call with him saying we could talk more later. I told him he's free to talk as much as he wants, but that I already had my answer and would start making plans for my family. We do plan to move only a couple of hours away, but I'm not telling him that. I'm letting him believe that his choices are the reason we might settle far away. My mom has no idea that I was ever offered the business. If she found out that my dad's decisions were the reason she wouldn't see her grandkids regularly, she would be furious. I briefly considered using that to my advantage, but I've decided I'd rather just teach. Business isn't worth it. But by the way, something that's always worth it is listening to full episodes with stories like this one on your favorite podcast platforms like iHeartRadio or Spotify or Apple Podcasts. All you have to do is search OK Storytime, and you got them all there, just waiting for you to listen to them. And we've got a little bit more story to listen to here.
I think just finish it. I think we've said our piece, and OP has said their piece.
Dude.
And they, you know what? There are people like this out there. It's just ridiculous. So I
you
feel
did
for you, OP. And you know what? Do what makes you happy and gives you the least amount of headaches.
Yeah. You did it right. You did it right. You did it tight. Instead, I'm dropping subtle hints to my mom that we're considering settling far away. I know she'll tell my dad, and it will make him sweat more over time. He tried to manipulate me into taking care of my inept brother, and now he's stuck with the consequences. He can't sell the business because he offered it to my brother, and my brother will keep delaying. My dad will likely work until he physically can't anymore just to keep the door open for my brother, and it will all be for nothing. I'll be watching the chaos from a distance, knowing I chose what's best for my children. And I'll leave you with this. Nothing scares the crap out of a narc more than your freedom. And that is the end of that story.
Yeah. Good luck, OP.
Yeah, I mean, even if he is the way that, you say that he is, then I'm sure if you did take over the business, he would just be continuing to run it through you like as a proxy. So you would never escape. He would then, he'd be double checking all your stuff all the time. He's not going to walk away from it like that.
He saw you as a literal tool. Like, all right, this is going to make his, like, the golden child get the business, set him up, and he'll be fine on his own.
But that is the end of that story. And we've got another one.
My sister pushed open marriage ideas on my wife, and I lost it.
Stay away from my wife. That's my wife.
I am 24 and my wife is 23. We got married last year when I was 15. We love each other, understand each other. I love my wife so much that I'm basically a simp. Heck, even if she told me she wants to F another man, I would probably cave in. I would choose her over any of my family members, even my parents. By the way, this comes from user StunningPanda743. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. I'm Keon.
I'm Dakota.
And we're here to give good advice goofily. We only know what we do, so let us know what you do in the comments. English isn't my first language, so forgive me if I make mistakes, and I want opinions from people outside of my culture. My wife told me a few days ago that my eldest sister, who is 27, is constantly texting her and calling her. My wife showed me the text, and long story short, my sister tried to convince my wife by educating her about open relationships, and she should find a job so it doesn't have to rely on me, and even said that she shouldn't allow me to control her. We all come from a place where a majority of women are housewives. My mom, other women in my family, and my sister, except my eldest, she's nuts. We are traditional and stick to our traditions that has been working for us all since from the beginning. First of my priority was to comfort my wife and remove all the doubts from her head. I hugged my wife and told her that I would never restrict her. If she wants to stop being a housewife or wants to go out with my protection, then I won't stop her. But this is something that she has to think for herself, instead of letting others tell her what to do. My wife said she is fine with the way things are, and she would never get near any other man except me and our family members. She didn't want to lie to me, and that's why she told me. We both comforted each other and made love and decided to cut my sister off because what she's saying is completely dumb. I called my sister and told her to stay away from us both from now on. I am cutting her off. She said she was trying to help my wife and educate her. I said, no, you are trying to ruin our happy life, and I don't want you anywhere near us. I cut her off, and my sister keeps calling me, but I ignore her, and even my own parents said I should make up with my sister because brothers should always protect their sisters. I just told them I need some time, and eventually I'll forgive my sister. But am I the a-hole in this situation? My sister's putting twisted ideas in my wife's head about how it's evil if I work, and she doesn't work, and I'm controlling her and telling her to F other men while still being married, as if not lying to me, and I agree to it, making it okay? I'm so effing disgusted. And we have some comments. Is OP the a-hole?
I don't think so. I think maybe like culturally this is like a way crazy thing to bring up for you. And like, I don't know, it does. It just basically reads like your sister's like, yeah, shouldn't you be like way unhappier and less satisfied and like want like these other things that would like put your relationship like maybe in jeopardy?
I would genuinely ask my sister, like, well, from you and your wife, OP, like, why are you helping educate her? Comment number 1, if your wife wants to work, she can. And if she doesn't want to, she doesn't. So long as your bills are paid and you can put a bit aside for a rainy day. It's no one's business how you and your wife choose to live. If you are struggling financially, one person bearing the weight of that is a different matter. But if your wife wants to break with tradition and work, then all you need to do is encourage and support her. And if she doesn't want to break the tradition, then all you need to do is encourage and support her. If you're happy, she's happy, nothing else matters. So he replies with, yes.
Yes.
If my wife wants to work, I wouldn't stop her, but she needs to think about it herself instead of letting others like my sister brainwash her. And I am not even worried about her working. That's like the least of my concern. It's just money, which I don't care about. I got plenty. I am more angry about my sister trying to convince my wife that it is normal to have more than one partner and women can have spicy sleep with multiple men, and somehow it's okay as long as I consent, but disregarding our marriage? Comment number 2, not the a-hole. Your sister was in the wrong. I reckon everything you said sounds pretty spot on. Plies, I feel the same. My sister is trying to ruin our happy marriage and our life by telling her that she should be with other men, and she's relying on me, and I'm controlling her. Stuff like that, which annoyed my wife as well, and I think that's why my wife told me everything. It's not just about her being a housewife. For us, that's stupid. I would get so angry knowing that my wife is with other men, and I know she would feel the same if I had private moments with a different woman other than her. I'm so disgusted by what my sister said, and even questioning if she's my sister or not. Who says stuff like that to their own sister-in-law? My wife and I decided to be together until we pass away and help and support each other. Why is it necessary for us to bring another man or woman in our life? I have been overthinking about this whole situation, but I still can't understand what my sister was thinking, and I still don't see her point. Another comment here, not the a-hole. This is not gaslighting. Your sister is just a nosy wiener. I wanted to cut my sister off, but my mom asked me to make up with my sister because she wants both of her children to celebrate New Year's with family, like we always have. I said I will talk to her, and it depends on if my sister agrees to not interfere in my marriage. So I gave her a visit to talk. It was a bit awkward, though after our huge fight, I asked her why is she interfering in my marriage and telling my wife all kinds of things and ruining my marriage by corrupting my wife's mind. I said I am willing to forgive her and we get along as long as she stays away from my wife. She said I have no right to tell her what to do, and my wife has every right to talk to whoever she wants. She said this is the reason why she wanted to educate my wife and not be controlled by me. I asked her, how am I controlling? She said that telling my wife to do something is controlling behavior. I'm ordering my wife around. I got all the power because I earn, but she doesn't, so I decide everything for her. I told her that it's not what she thinks. We both are okay with how things are. I'm working, and she stays and takes care of our house, and we are even thinking of children, so she will be with them. We are equal partners. I then said forget about money and work and asked her why did she educate my wife about open relationships and stuff. My sister said that women could have fun and no longer their husband's property. And since my wife has only been with me, she doesn't know much about things, and she wanted to get her out of her traditions. And if she wants to experience fun outside of me, she can. That's why she was trying to educate her. I guess it's just like, I think this stems back to your sister not having a healthy relationship, or that maybe something with your traditions.
I can see it, and it's y'all are all very traditional within. Again, we don't know what culture this is, but you are all very traditional. And she has become the first in the family to like step outside of that and like be, you know, surrounded by all of these different ideas and contrary ideas. And because of that, she thinks that that is just the best or better way to go about things. It is a very like someone who is 20 years old thing to do. I learned a thing and it's better than your thing. I know it is because I learned it. It's just the way it is.
Yeah. I said it was very offensive to tell my wife to have spicy sleep with another man. Spicy sleep is a private thing between a couple. Nobody else needs to know about it. And you telling all this is corrupting my wife. You can have whatever opinions you want and hate the way we operate, but don't interfere in my marriage. By the way, you can listen to full episodes with stories just like this. Go to your favorite podcast apps such as Spotify, Apple Podcast, or iHeartRadio and search up OK Storytime. My sister said she just wanted to educate my wife and tell her how things are outside of traditional perspective. I said, I don't care. And if someone so much as touched my wife, I will fight that person. And my wife would unalive me if I do the same, and it's not her job to tell her sister-in-law what she should do. We were going nowhere with this conversation, so I just asked her if we can amicably spend this new year together and put our differences aside for our mom. She agreed. I will try my best to not hurt my parents and be amicable, but I don't understand what she's thinking. She wants my wife to work and have spicy sleep with other men when my wife and I have led our life perfectly. So why is my sister interfering so much?
Honestly, bro, I feel like the answer to that is not even because like she wants to like change your marriage. It's just like she thinks she's doing something that's like righteous. She thinks that she is like a liberator, like bringing this information to your wife so she can free her. It really has nothing to do with you guys. It just has to do with her having learned this stuff and been exposed to it. And now she's like, I have to be like the messenger.
But that is the end of that story and the end of this episode.
We love you and
see you tomorrow.